Hello, everybody. I am Joe DeProspero, representing the Montvale Parents Network. I'm happy to be here today. Happy to see so many people here and enjoying the snacks. Before we get any further, we have a Skype audience with us today. So I have done this, we've all have done this. You start asking your question before you have a microphone, and then a poor presenter has to repeat every single question. So make sure that you wait for a microphone before you ask your question so that the Skype audience is not lost. I'm gonna start with a confession. I had, until this morning, no idea what crudité was, nor how to pronounce it. So I, like probably some people in the room, especially as working parents, you make convenient choices instead of healthy choices. I work in an area where about 2 cubes over from me, we have Sugar Lane. Literally, it's called Sugar Lane, where we regularly have double stuffed Oreos and as many different flavor Oreos as you can get, and it can be hard to pass that up. So Allison is here to inspire us to make those great choices. And a little promotion, because I usually wait till the end to say this. We are going to be launching a series of informal discussions called Coffee Talks. And our first one's going to be March 3rd at 3, so 3-3 at 3, in the Exchange. That will actually be, they're going to be informal conversations about a variety of parenting topics. We're starting with this very topic, so kind of dovetail off what we're talking about today. We're going to be doing that. So you will only be notified of those things and be invited if you're on our Parents Network mailing list. So I don't want to sound like I'm playing in a band in 1993, but make sure you sign up on our mailing list before you leave here. Otherwise, you will not be aware of it. So Allison Jackson is a corporate communications director. She's a certified personal trainer. She's an author. She's a podcaster. She's a bodybuilder. I get tired just thinking of all the things that she does, but she's an overall awesome person and a friend of mine. So to lead us on a conversation about how we can all make healthier choices for ourselves and for our family, Allison Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. That was such a great intro. Thank you, Joe. It's awesome to be here. So as Joe mentioned, I am Allison Jackson, and we are going to learn how to get the whole family eating healthy. I'm also going to teach you how to save some time, save some money, and you might even lose some weight in the process. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about meal planning. We're going to talk about, after you plan those meals, how to prep them. So save some time, be convenient. We're going to get the whole family involved, whether you have toddlers to teenagers. We're going to talk through that. We're going to talk about macros 101. So I'll dive into that a little bit further along, but you're going to learn what gets me stage ready. So every year I lose between 15 and 20 pounds. You're going to learn how I do that. Some tips and tricks, and we're going to bust some dieting myths that you guys may all be sticking to, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. As Joe mentioned, please just wait for a microphone if you're in the room, and we'll also take any questions you have on Skype. So, a little bit about me. I've battled my weight my entire life. I know most people look at me, they're like, no, you've been thin forever. No. So I was that 12-year-old who swam with a t-shirt on because I didn't want to be seen in a bathing suit. But I played field hockey in high school and college. I was very into sports, very active. I used to read my dad's muscle and fitness magazines. So that's where I started getting obsessed with the weight training. And I thought it was amazing how people could sculpt their bodies through diet and exercise. I taught aerobics back when it was called aerobics, and leg warmers were all the rage, if anybody remembers Jane Fonda. And I also taught kickboxing when Billy Blanks and Taebo was all the rage. I've run marathons, I've done triathlons, I've done Tough Mudders. I've done everything you can think of to try to get that dream body. And in the back of my mind, I've always still wanted to do the bodybuilding, which about 8 years ago, I competed in my first bodybuilding competition. I thought it was a one and done, okay, move on. But I got hooked, and I've been doing it ever since. So coming up on 10 years, I just made my pro debut last year and won. So next year, I'm hoping to take it to the national level. So I'm going to teach you some tips and tricks that you could use as well. So why meal plan and prep? So my motto is you either fail to plan or you plan to fail. And you could use that motto in your career and, you know, working out, eating. You're going to plan your meals because it's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. You're going to make the right choices. So how many people look like the woman down on the bottom right when you think about dinner? Anybody have dinner planned for this evening? Anyone? No. So now you're thinking about it all day, like, oh my God, I have to feed my family when I get home. So this is why it just takes that, it's one less stress that you have to think about. You know, you have so much going on at work, family obligations, sports, meal planning takes a stress away. So how do you meal plan? So the first thing you're going to do is look at your family calendar. Late meetings, social events, sports, kids parties. You're going to see what nights do you need to have really easy meals and really quick meals, and what nights can you take a little bit more time. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start with dinner, because dinner is always the toughest, most stressful meal. And once you get the hang of meal planning for dinner, lunch and breakfast is a breeze. But you're going to make a list of your dinners for the week. So what are some of your favorite meals that the kids like, that your husband likes, that you like? And then you're going to look in your freezer and your fridge, see what you have, take stock of what you currently have, and then you're going to make your shopping list based on that. Okay? And then, like I said, once you get that down pat, we'll move on to breakfast and lunch. So these are typical, easy, healthy dinners that I make for my family. Growing up, I don't know if anyone else had the same thing, but my mom was like, you have to have a meat, you have to have a starch, you have to have a vegetable. That was like, and that's a balanced diet, right? So I try to do the same thing for my family. So this is just a sampling, and even when I'm meal prepping, these are the meals I'll eat. I might tweak a little bit, like the family might be having rice, I might be having riced cauliflower, but that's typically what it looks like. So how did I arrive at this list? This is a list of my family's favorites, things I've found online that I just tried and they worked out, referrals I've gotten from friends, from other bodybuilders that have used them. And none of these are in stones. So for example, one of my favorite meals, we call it crack slaw. It's basically broccoli slaw and ground, like a lean ground meat, so a ground turkey sausage, a ground beef. So I was at Trader Joe's and I'm like, oh, there's broccoli slaw, and they had soy chorizo. So if anyone's watched the documentaries on plant-based eating, we're trying to reduce our red meat. So I put that together and I gave it to the family, and my daughter was like, my son was like, this is really good, So it's just, nothing is in stone. It's so easy to kind of swap foods out once you kind of have something that's set. And if anybody wants this presentation at the end, feel free to send me an email or sign up in the sheet. I'll send you a PDF and give you a list of all these. So how to create your meal prepping menu, what I typically do is I look at the grocery store sales flyer. I'll see what's on sale. So if steak's on sale, we're having steak that week. Ground beef's on sale. And then I plot out my meal plan based on that. And I typically order my groceries from ShopRite, and I'll order them and pick them up. It's just much more convenient. You're able to stick to your plan. Typically, if you buy the same thing every week, it's just literally like check the box, get it in the cart, and go. I do shop also at Wegmans and Trader Joe's, but again, you want to make it most convenient. I actually just started ordering my non-perishables from Amazon. So I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to step outside to go to a store. And again, it keeps you on track and makes it that much easier. All right, so how to meal plan for the week. So you're going to look at your plan for the week, and you're going to decide, what am I cooking ahead? What am I just preparing and putting in the fridge so I can pull it out and cook it? And what am I going to make a huge batch of and potentially freeze it to have kind of like 2 weeks worth of meals? So these are the tools that I typically use and that I live by my Instapot. Anybody have Instapots, crock pots in the wintertime? Oh my God. So in the summertime it's the grill, in the wintertime it's the Instapot. I typically weigh and measure my food. You don't have to go crazy, but it's helpful if you're trying to lose weight. You really want to monitor exactly what you're eating. Aluminum foil, sheet pans, and containers. And you want to make sure you have room in your fridge. So once you have all that, we're going to go do our shopping. I typically meal prep on Sundays. I shop Sundays. No. We good?
No longer muted.
Okay, I'm not muted. Good. All right, so you take all your ingredients, and what I do is I shop on Sunday mornings, and Sunday afternoon I meal prep. Typically takes me 60 to 90 minutes. On a tough Sunday, might be 2 hours, but it does not take that much time. And I'll typically decide what I'm going to cook, what I'm not going to cook. So what does it mean when I'm not going to cook it? So sheet pan chicken fajitas. Chop up the chicken breast, chop up an onion, some peppers, put it on an aluminum foil sheet pan, sprinkle some fajita seasoning, wrap it up. You're going to just pop that in the oven when you get home. 30 minutes, you're done. And you just have some fixings with it. So a burrito, if the kids want like rice or something, super easy. Same with the Instapot. So one of my favorites is chicken teriyaki. Before I leave for work, throw either chicken breast or chicken thighs, teriyaki sauce. You can make your own, you can buy it in the bottle. Set it, when you get home, make some broccoli and rice. Again, another quick, instant, healthy meal. All right, so now that we have all these meals and you're prepping and you're planning, who has picky kids? Whose kids don't want to eat vegetables? Okay, so we're going to teach them about macros and nutrition and why it's important to eat healthy and what it means. So a perfect example, my daughter's 13. She's like, you're always tracking your macros. What does that mean? What are you doing? So I had her download MyFitnessPal, and I said, here, scan your Doritos and look and see what your Doritos. She was like, oh my gosh, there's so much fat in that. Like, it helped her to see like the difference between what is in Doritos and what's in the baby carrots you're eating. So it really helps them, depending on their age again. You want to educate them of why they're eating healthy and what that means. So you also could get them involved in the meal planning and the meal prep. If they have a favorite meal, incorporate that. If they want to understand about cooking, I know a lot of kids that are like elementary school age into like the tweens, cooking they love. My daughter loves cooking, loves baking. And then be adventurous. Have them go on Pinterest or Google or Yumly and find new recipes that you could try out together. I typically try my new recipes on Saturdays and Sundays when you have more time. And these are just some healthy alternatives that the kids may not even know that you're doing. So we have low-fat or non-fat cheese versus regular. Plain Greek yogurt tastes very much like sour cream. My daughter actually prefers that now over sour cream. If you're getting ground beef or ground meats, try to get a leaner cut. They'll still have enough fat in it at 95%, but the 80% is just very high in fat. Rice cauliflower versus white rice, and then pulled chicken versus pulled pork. And then low-fat or non-fat dressings, condiments, sauces. It's just easy ways to just cut calories and fat without really noticing it. All right, so now we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about macros. Anybody trying to lose weight? Anybody have family members trying to lose weight? Okay. So what are macros? So macros is short for macronutrients, and it's essentially what makes up calories. So you have proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And you'll notice on the bottom, each one, the calorie count is different. So 1 gram of carbs or 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of fats is 9 calories. So that's why we always want to be very careful with how much fat you're having in your diet, because it adds up quickly. So common macros. How many people here think that peanut butter is a great source of protein? Peanut butter is actually very high in fat. So it has a good chunk of protein, but I wouldn't use it as a protein source. So it would fall in the little fat category. How many people think dairy is a carb? Dairy is typically a protein. So your cottage cheese, your eggs, your milk, all very good protein sources. Again, you just have to watch the fat. So why do macro ratios matter? Why does it matter why can't I eat all carbs or why can't I eat all fat? So each macro plays a different role. So with protein, you're building muscle. It's good for your hair, good for your skin. Carbs is a primary source of energy. So if you're a runner, you want to carb up. That's the primary source of fuel that's used. And then for fats, there's fat-soluble vitamins. You want to have shiny hair, good skin. So fat is important. Fat and carbs are not the enemy. You need all three of the macros. It's just in different ratios. So obviously a bodybuilder is going to have a different macro ratio than a runner, than a triathlon, a triathlete, or a power lifter. So it's really based on what your goals are. And then finally, food quality is super important. So it's going to take your body a lot more time and energy to break down unprocessed foods than it does processed foods. So anything that's unpackaged, that's going to be obviously better for your body, healthier, your fruits, your vegetables, versus like the chips, the breads, the sugary stuff. So these are just some sample macro ratios. So you'll see there's a mixed meal here, 40, 30, 30. These are all different percentages based on what the type of meal is. So you have your paleo, your low carb, your ketogenic. So your ketogenic and your paleo are much higher fat, lower carb, and then lower protein as well. So as a bodybuilder, I typically follow, and what I recommend for my clients is a 40-40-20. So 40% carbs, 40% protein, 20% fat. It's a moderately high protein, low fat diet. And that protein, having that extra protein really keeps you full. And it's just a great way. You don't want to starve yourself to lose weight at the end of the day. So speaking of losing weight, there is no magic bullet, there's no magic detox, there's no magic supplement. At the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out. So at the top, if your calories in are the same as your calories out, you're going to maintain. If your calories coming in are way higher than what you're putting out, you're going to gain weight. And then obviously on the flip side, if you take in less and you work out more, then you're going to lose weight. But again, you don't need to drastically, a lot of people think that it's 800 or 1,000 calories to lose weight. It's not. It's literally just a small percentage less than what it takes to burn. Otherwise, you mess up your metabolism. You need to start from a decent set of calories. So this is the simplified way of how to calculate your macros if you are trying to lose weight. I typically have people take their current weight, multiply it by 12. If you have more than 50 pounds to lose, I have them multiply it by 10. So for example, an 140-pound woman would need 1,680 calories. Now, a lot of people would be like, oh my God, that's so many calories. It's really not, because at rest, not doing anything else, her probably, it's called total daily energy expenditure, is probably around 1,600 calories. So if she's taking that in and also working out, she's going to lose weight. And then here's how you determine your macros. So the protein's typically 1 gram per body weight, and then you back into the other ones. So they're literally just percentages, and I could help anybody with the math. This is just kind of just like a down and dirty. Vicky, wait for a microphone, or I could repeat your question. Oh, there comes a mic.
When you're looking at, trying to balance your macros and having different ratios depending on what you're trying to do, the simple, as you said, the simple thing is, calories in, calories out. But is a calorie a calorie a calorie? So is 100 calories of, well, you know me, so.
Yeah.
But is 100 calories of carrots the same at the end of the day as as half a Snickers, if that's 100 calories?
So it's the same calories, but how your body processes that is going to be completely different.
So you could have a different result. So if I had
Yes.
1,500 calories a day of Doritos,
Correct.
which
Your
I
body-
have done.
Your body might look different than if you have 1,500 calories of like
Of-
chicken and vegetables.
Okay, good.
So, awesome. All right, so now that you have your macros and your calories, how do you track it? So is anyone familiar with MyFitnessPal? Anybody have it, use it? Okay, I am like a MyFitnessPal junkie. It's a free app. You could download it on your phone. I've been using it. I think they track your records. So I think I'm up to like 1,500 days, and I don't want to break my streak. So this is just a sample of what I've eaten in one day. My daily goal was 1,700. It's an eye chart, but I did have 2 Moscow mules in there, so alcohol does have macros. But MyFitnessPal is awesome because it's on your phone, it's always with you, and it's so easy to track your food. I almost now am at the point where I don't know what it's like to not track my food. So these are just some tricks if you do decide to use MyFitnessPal. If you commonly eat the same thing every day, you could copy and paste. It will track your macros. So the free version is great. I used it for years. I do have the upgraded premium version. It's $50 a year, but it lets you customize all your macros. So there it has the copy, and you can also add your own recipes, which is awesome because it'll give you the macros based on the serving size. So all those recipes we talked about, you can actually put them in MyFitnessPal, and you can easily track. All right, so now you're probably wondering, I go to a party and I'm feeding my face. How am I measuring that? Like I don't have a serving size. You have built-in measuring cups in your hands. So everybody has different size hands, and when you use those, this is typically, as you can see here, a serving size of protein is your palm, a fist is your vegetables, cupped is carbs, and a little thumb, your thumb is actually a serving of fat, which is like a tablespoon. So a lot of people are always like, why do you measure? Like, why can't I just use a serving size? So volume versus weight does matter. If you look at this peanut butter, on the top, somebody just said, oh yeah, that's a serving, it's 130 calories. But then when you weigh it, it's actually 22 grams, whereas this one, if you used a food scale, is 16 grams. That's an actual serving, is 16 grams. So you see the difference when you try to eyeball it, which can throw people off in terms of, I'm eating healthy, but it's like, yeah, if you really want to hone in on why you might not be losing weight, the measurement is really key. And another thing is, so I have a competition prep coach. He talks about BLTs, bites, licks, and tastes. If you do that all day, that could add up to like 300 or 400 calories. So, it's just a Hershey Kiss. I'm just going to lick the spoon of this, and that all adds up. So A lot of people always ask me, where do the donuts fit in? So one of the talks that I do is called How to Get Lean Eating Foods You Love. And another term that they use for macro tracking is if it fits your macros, or flexible dieting, because nothing is off limits. So where do the donuts fit in? Here is an example. This is an iced Dunkin' Donuts coffee. The middle is a regular chocolate glazed donut, and on the right is a munchkin. So you could use your macros however you want, but would you really want to spend 260 calories and 41 grams of carbs on a drink when you could have 3 or 4 munchkins and get actually less? So it's important. These nutrition labels are your biggest guide in terms of what are these what are in these foods. I mean, the drink has 41 grams of carbs, right? Look at the sugars, 39 grams of sugar. There is 4 grams of sugar in a teaspoon. That's 10 teaspoons of sugar in that drink. So it's important, even what you're feeding your kids. Look at the juice content. Granted, it's a lot of natural sugars, but sugar is sugar is sugar. So just want to share that. All right, so tips, tricks, and myths. All right, so the first tip, meal prep. Yay, we covered that. So it takes the guessing out of what you eat. You're prepared. You don't have to worry about kind of going off course. Another one is using spices. These are some of my absolute favorite spices. I even have my son using the Grill Mates Smokehouse Maple. It's awesome on anything. Chicken, broccoli, cauliflower, you name it, it's good on it. Same with everything but the bagel sesame. I use it on my egg whites every morning. The only thing you need to watch with your spices is the sodium amount. There is a brand called Flavor God and Mrs. Dash, very low sodium. So those are two brands. And finally, you could find or make macro-friendly foods everywhere. I mean, macros are like all the rage now. So these are just 2 examples. You could get all this stuff on Amazon. Zoodles, so they have, or Zero Oodle, they have a shirataki that's basically plant protein that's like 10 calories for like a whole bag. This one's actually made of black beans, is very good. And then the protein puffs, they taste just like Doritos, but they're just puffs. Because a lot of people struggle with, when you start tracking your macros and you realize how much protein you have to eat, it's a struggle to get that in. You really need to try to get 20 to 30 grams of protein at every meal, which can be a struggle. So these are, one serving is 21 grams, and it feels like you're cheating because it's like a snack, What else? All right. Who still believes the common myth of don't eat after 8 p.m., that you have to have a certain time? Okay, guess what? I'm freeing you. It's your when you wake up till you go to bed, that is your day. You can eat your calories anytime. Your body, that's your time. It doesn't matter if it's after 8 p.m. Now, if you're binging after 8 p.m., then that's a different story. But as long as you have your daily calorie allotment in a certain time frame, you are fine. You could eat at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. All right, how many people think that you have to do hours and hours of cardio to lose weight? Anyone, right? So when I was doing marathons, I felt like I still couldn't lose weight. You do not have to focus on cardio. Cardio is great for heart health, like 2 to 3 times a week. God bless you. 2 to 3 times a week. You could do high intensity. You could do steady state. When I'm training for my like right now, I do maybe 20 minutes 2 or 3 times a week. When I'm training for my competitions, I'll get up to, the most I will do is maybe 45 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week. Really, 90% of your efforts are going to be through your diet. If you can manage your diet and just get 10,000 steps in, like just move, it doesn't even, you don't have to get like formal workouts in. Formal workouts are great, I am not knocking them, but the efforts are going to come in through your nutrition. And I realized that when I started competing. It's really all about your nutrition, and you can't out-train a bad diet. So don't go nuts over the weekend and think, I'm just going to work harder during the week. Like I feel like everyone's efforts on the weekend, myself included, it's hard when you have social events and you just want to relax and have like pancakes for breakfast. It's really the nutrition. All right, how many people think that lifting weights makes you bulky? You're going to bulk up. You're going to be Arnold, right? Okay. I lift as heavy as I can 5 to 6 days a week, and I'm lucky to gain 3 pounds of muscle a year. So in order to look like that, you have to take steroids. I will not take steroids. I am a natural competitor, but it is really, really hard. And there is no such thing as toning. Like, you need to lift weights. It's also great for preventing injury. You lose muscle as you age. Lifting weights is like, I want to like preach it everywhere. It's just awesome for, it's a great workout. And a lot of times when I look at, so I'm a huge, in addition to my FitnessPal Fitbit, I'm like obsessed with. If I look at my cardio and my weight training, I'll actually burn more fat weight training. So because I'm, you're pushing yourself. It's not just do 10 reps. Got a question? Hold it, just get a mic.
Just to jump back to the eating after 8.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of intermittent fasting, and that's like the whole. So I'm just curious, like, what you think about that. Is it people just because you're limiting the hours, so you're probably less light, you're eating less food, is really what it comes down to?
Yes.
Or is your body resting, and everyone says all these other like amazing stuff that happens when you don't eat for 16 hours or whatever? That's
so funny. That was one of the questions I had listed in my like Q&A to get things started. But intermittent fasting, I love. And it's not considered a diet, it's considered a tool. So you could use it with any diet you're following, right? Like paleo, vegan, vegetarian. And it's about eating in a certain time window. And it's really good for people that like really big meals. So if you want to eat 3 huge meals, and like ideally it's you eat 8 hours, you fast 16, so you typically skip breakfast. It's awesome for that, because I'm one of those people that I like to eat till I'm full. I don't want to just eat my calories and then, okay, when do I get to eat again? So no, I love intermittent fasting. I think it's great. They're saying there's so many benefits to it that it's a farce, that breakfast is the most important meal. You need to eat when you want, when you're hungry and you want to eat. So no, I love intermittent fasting. I think it's great. And I think it's a great, like I said, tool to any diet you're following. As long as, again, you keep your calories, you don't go nuts. So like my brother is trying to lose weight. He goes, oh yeah, I just eat whatever I want for 8 hours. I'm like, that's not how that works. So again, it's just making sure you eat what you need to eat during that time frame. But great question. So again, just going back to lifting weights, if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend you try it. You don't have to do 5-6 times a week. You could do it 3 times a week, full body workout, and that is perfectly fine. And again, it'll just prevent injury as you get older. Because as people get older, I look at like my mother-in-law, she's in her late 70s, and she's very frail. And I feel like, not that she should have been bodybuilding, but I'm like, oh, if she had lifted weights and really focused on kind of building her muscle strength, I think she'd be much more agile. So I covered a ton, and I would love to take more questions. Yes, we'll just get you a mic.
In terms of amount of time, like, sometimes I'll say something is better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I have the recumbent bike. Most of us would probably kill our spouses if they gave us that for Christmas, but I didn't. And I could just get the 12 minutes in, but I'm trying to do it every day.
Yeah.
Is that counting
That
enough towards something?
Yeah, and I would just try to build on there, like try to build up to 20.
Yeah.
And maybe you do 20 minutes a day 3 times a week. But yeah, I think that's great. And
Okay.
that's an awesome start.
Okay, I just wasn't sure, if it was enough of a
It's enough.
kick.
It's enough. And again, it's diet. So remember to keep your diet in check, and that will be plenty. Joe, over here.
Embarrassing. So Allison, for most of us here who spend a lot of time in our car and in our cube, what are your tips for sort of integrating more fitness into a routine which perhaps doesn't lend itself as much as if you were a park ranger or doing something more active?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny, I just got this question, someone entered in my website. What I typically tell people, if you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you're like, I'm not fitting that in. When you come into work, park as far, you've probably heard these before, park as far away as humanly possible. That added extra 5 or 10 minutes as you're walking in, take the stairs, don't take the elevator. And then in the middle of the day, walk. If we're in building 2, I'll walk all the way to building 1. Just walk through the whole building and then walk back. Park again, far away at night. If you need to get the mail, do an extra lap around the parking lot. It's about getting those little pieces every day. Because guess what? Over the day, you might add 20 or 30 minutes of walking. And I tell people, like, just try to get 10,000 steps. I know if I didn't make an effort, I'd be at 5,000. Like, as desk jockeys, we're all at around 5,000. So if you could hit 10 or 12, that's huge. And again, it's just adding it in throughout the day, not having to allot an hour to work out. But that's a great question.
Hi, Allison. A quick question. If on the weekend you're at parties and you kind of go off that calorie count, that you've been watching all week long, isn't that okay to jumpstart your metabolism? Like, I was on Weight Watchers many, many years ago, and they would tell us on the weekend to increase everything. Do you feel that's true or false? Or?
Yes. So, so when I'm typically prepping and I'll eat like a low calorie amount, and I'm plateauing, I'm not dropping, I'll have like we call it like a high, they used to call it cheat days, I like to call it cheat because nothing's off limits. We call it a high carb day. So you might eat a little bit more, and that might kickstart your weight loss. On the other side, if you find that, oh crap, I went over like 2 or 3 days in a row, that you want to cut back for a couple days. But that is true, that you do sometimes want to increase your calorie count to keep your body guessing, because after a while it does kind of it stagnates, and it's like, all right, I'm not letting go because you're not, going to eat anymore. So that's a great point.
Hi. I have a question regarding the low-fat products. So how do you feel, there are a lot of new studies that say that low-fat is not so good. So isn't it better to eat less real food rather than low-fat processed food?
I totally agree. I definitely wouldn't want everyone to eat like all non-fat all the time if it's just here and there to replace stuff. But I agree with you. If you could just make sure your portions are right, then absolutely the real deal is definitely way better than processed.
Thank you.
Hi, Allison. I'm always scared to use weights because I feel like I can hurt myself if I do it not properly. So do you need a trainer, or is there something online that can tell you?
So if you belong to a gym, usually they give you a free, okay. If you don't belong to a gym, definitely go on YouTube. There are tons and tons of trainer videos, and they'll actually walk you through the form and do your weight training in a mirror so you could see what your form looks like and compare that with the YouTube video. But there's a ton that they have around making sure your form is correct. Start with low weights until you feel like confident, but definitely YouTube is a wealth of information.
Any particular website?
Bodybuilder.com. Yeah, they have a ton. That's actually where I go when I'm like, all right, what am I doing this right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have kind of a related question also about weight training. Is there a ratio in terms of cardio versus weights that you recommend, like 1/3 of your time is on this and 2/3 on that, or half and half, or what?
So I typically will tell people 3 times a week cardio, 20 to 30 minutes, and then 3 times a week weight training, 30, 40 minutes. So if you want to do those every other day, if you want to do cardio and weights 3 times a week all at once, but I try to do like 3 and 3.
So, is this okay? I have a weird problem. 2 children will eat anything and everything. 1 child will only eat fruit and vegetables. It doesn't sound like a problem, but she keeps dropping in the weight bracket because she won't eat fats or carbs, or it's just ice cream and fruit.
Wow.
So, any recommendations to introduce stuff for weight gain for children?
Oh, that's a good one. Have you tried smoothies with her?
Yeah, she's not interested.
Not interested, even with ice cream. No pasta? Not interested in pasta?
It's also a very slow process, so foods can't be mixed. So it's 1p at a time. Then it's in pasta,
My
and then
gosh.
it's 90 minutes later, and I'm like, fine, okay, have some ice cream, because we've got to get out of this restaurant. Or
So
wherever we are.
it's funny because we used to go through that. We said we don't have freestyle dining. Like this is, it's hard, but it's like this is the meal. And if you don't like it, you don't eat. And they're going to get to the point where they're hungry. They're going to eat whatever you put in front of them. But it is hard. I went through that with my daughter, and I was like, my mom's like, don't do it. Just don't. This is it. And a lot of times to introduce new foods too for my kids, I'll say just take a taste, and if you do not like it, you spit it out. And if you like it, guess what? You just found a new food that you like. So, and it might even be doing that, introducing new foods, just get her to try different things. And again, taste it, spit it out if you don't like it, but maybe she'll find something new that she likes.
Yeah, Allison, sorry. So Allison, to that point, I face a similar, actually kind of a reverse issue where you're saying like put something in front of them, eventually if they're hungry they'll eat it. I have a mother-in-law who lives next door who is the most accommodating as grandmas tend to be. So I have two out of my 3 kids who just won't get out of that bucket of macaroni and cheese and and whatever chicken nuggets because they are enabled in that sense. So yeah,
Oh,
we'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. But definitely introducing new foods, I think. Maybe even your mother-in-law, new foods.
We're trying. We're trying.
Anyone else? Any more questions?
Just a quick comment on that. There's a great resource on Instagram called Feeding Littles. They actually have a course it's like $60 or $70 for a course from like 2 to 7, which they recommend. But they always have promo codes or whatever, and it also takes time to watch it. But even if you don't do the course, if you follow them on Instagram, they have a lot of great resources. And I think it's like a newer concept. They always put a familiar food, and they're very into putting like a treat with dinner. One small treat. So you have your treat, you have everything else. And a lot of times they say that by putting that small treat, it gets the hunger going. I mean, it's tough. Like it's because we grew up thinking like the complete opposite. So I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I'm trying to incorporate that. So it kind of puts the ice cream and everything that right now we have as a company, as a culture, have it on a pedestal. So they're trying to reverse that thinking. But it's really difficult because we put it on a pedestal. So it gets them to take it off the pedestal. So it's a great resource. They have and they understand working parents and this and that. And some days all you can do is chicken nuggets. So if you follow them on Instagram, they have amazing tips and without even going on it. So it's called Feeding Littles, and it's a food therapist and a nutritionist that work together, and I love following it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Feeding Littles. Yeah, I think it's a great resource.
That's awesome.
Sorry, becoming a bit of a hog, but
Not at all.
what's your thoughts on how important organic and supplements are? When I lived in the UK, the NHS was just like, feed your kids, get on with it. Here, they're like, we've got this vitamin for you and this, and you've got to make sure that, and I don't know what's necessary anymore, and does it actually make a difference?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of organic, non-organic, I say you do whatever you feel comfortable. I try to get the dirty dozen in organic, so those thin-skinned fruits, strawberries, nectarines, peaches, like those types of things I try to get organic. Everything else I buy just regular. And in terms of supplements, so they call them supplements for a reason, because you should be eating a healthy, well-balanced diet, and then if you feel like you need extra. So I take a multivitamin, I take a fish oil, I take a vitamin D, because most people are low in vitamin D, especially in the wintertime. But I think I'm not a proponent of supplements, other than obviously for bodybuilding, I use a lot of supplements like creatine and protein powders. But I like normal day-to-day when I'm off season, it's literally multivitamin, fish oil, vitamin D, that's it. Again, it's like you really should be getting most of your vitamins and minerals from your foods. Any other questions? Anybody online?
So I am a strong believer, like for me in my body, I think that when I've done weights, I've gone bigger.
Okay.
So I strongly believe that. How do I get away from,
So
is it based on your body and your body type? And so I have never done weights again.
Do you take your measurements? Or are you basing it on your weight or your measurements?
Based on just clothing, I think, and feel.
Okay. But
That was years ago.
Okay,
And I've never
all
done
right.
it since. So.
I was going to say, if you watch your diet and do it combined with weight training, my guess is you'll go down. Even if you're building muscle, you should, like even if your weight scale goes up, your measurement should go down, since muscle takes up less space than fat does. So I would do a test and try, maybe for 3 weeks, eat a certain allotment of calories, try weight training and see what happens. Awesome. So if we have no more questions, I will hand it back to Joe.
Sure. So just a reminder, as Allison noted, the slides will be shared with everybody who signed up in the front of the room. We're also recording a video of this, which we're going to make available via KVN, so we'll also communicate that out to you if you'd like to see yourself on camera, or the backs of your heads on camera. And just as a reminder, on March 3rd, if you sign up there, you'll be invited to a little kind of informal discussion we're going to have in the exchange. Coffee will be served for our first episode of Coffee Talks. And I just want to thank Allison for being here. This has been extremely informative and
Thank you.
energizing. So, and thank you all for being here. So, have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you.